All right, so I saw this little response to a comment I made about how for people with food addiction, a carnivore diet has been a godsend for a lot of those people. And this response was, they're not really addicted because they don't commit crimes or they don't prostitute themselves out or other things to obtain, these foods, these addictive foods, these sugary, ultra processed foods that so many people, which I think are addicted to. And, the problem with that analogy, I say, well, it's not like heroin or cocaine, is that heroin and cocaine are both illegal. They're very expensive. They're challenging to get a hold of, I suppose. I've never tried it, so I can't tell you for sure. But you imagine if you made like sugary processed food, chocolate bars, number one illegal and number two very very expensive. Then you would probably see some of those behaviors. I think there are alcoholics. Alcohol is relatively cheap. It's legal, but there are definitely alcoholics, right? But they are able, often they don't end up committing crimes because it's within their ability to afford these things. And so I think just with that, I mean, you see how cheap sugary processed food is everywhere. It's cheap, it's ubiquitous, it's given to us as a reward in many cases. So I think the addiction is real, and my understanding of addiction is that you will do something repeatedly despite the fact that it causes you harm. That really is, in my view, the definition of addiction. And I think there are people that know eating this stuff is bad for them, whether it's, psychologically bad for them or physically bad for them, and they continue to do that, irrespective of that. The one thing I've noticed with, you see this all the time. People, let's say go to a drug rehab clinic and they get off, they kick the heroin or they kick the alcohol or cigarettes or whatever, and what do they replace it with? Well, they often replace it with something else, and it's often garbage food, right? And so they just become sort of, they just replace one addiction with the other. And, I wrote my book, The Carnivore Diet. It was published 4 years ago, and I think it still stands up today as a very good resource. I think I don't know that I've changed much about it at all. And one thing I said in there was, eat meat like it's your job, in the beginning for sure. And this is one thing I was thinking that, people have some people have taken that, and I think I've clarified it. I think I did clarify it in the book, and maybe I didn't do it strong enough. People ask me, how much meat should I eat? I'm like, well, eat enough so you don't want a cupcake, right? That's what you got to do in the beginning, because you're trying to replace the garbage with something that's going to fill that hole for a while. And once that happens, once you get past the food addiction, and that may take 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year or more for some people. Some people it takes a couple of years even. But once you get past that, then you can start to kind of dial it back in and play, and you can have a little bit more, sort of, I guess, nuance there. Whereas before it's just eat meat until you're full and you don't want stuff. But then later it's like, maybe you don't need as much meat. Maybe you need to play with fat and protein ratios. Maybe you can bring back some other foods perhaps, but you got to beat that addiction first. And I think that is a major problem. So instead of giving people tools to beat addiction like this, what do we do now? We just, well, here, take an Ozempic shot. Here's drugs. Stay addicted. We want you to stay addicted. We want you to keep buying that stuff, and then we'll sell you obviously a very expensive, quote unquote, not cure. Another chronic medicine you'll take. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about that. Is addiction real? Do you believe food addiction is real, or it's just some made up woo-woo internet thing? And if you do or don't, list your reasons why. And if you yourself believe you're a food addict, what did you do to overcome that? Has carnivore helped you in a way that I think it might? Anyway, you guys have a great day. I'm kind of addicted to steak, so I guess that's my addiction. I'm going to go cook up one of those and eat one of those in just a minute, and I hope you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.